Coming up on Tech News Today, Yahoo shopping for Hulu, FBI shopping for more spy powers, and EA not shopping for gun licenses. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, May 8th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ring Central. We do everything in the cloud. That's why we love our cloud-based phone system by Ring Central. Zero startup costs, and Ring Central is $20 a month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial. Buy one desk phone, get a second phone free, up to 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use our promo code TWIT. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, or online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT5. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show we keep you up to date with the most important stories in the tech world, starting each time with the top 10 stories of the day, the news feed. Yesterday, Syria disappeared from the internet. Today, the state-run Syrian Arab news agency reported a fault in optical fiber cables was the cause. Akamai's David Belson told the BBC that published submarine maps show connectivity to Syria through 3 active cables, making a fault in a single fiber line unlikely. However, this morning, Syria Digital Reports and BGPMON both reported traffic returning to Syria's internet.
Unofficial Google news blog, Google Operating System, is reporting that Google Maps is getting an update which will remove the current sidebar and display location information in pop-ups that appear on top of a full-screen map. The new design puts the map itself more front and center rather than on navigational tools we're all used to, like those direction arrows and zoom functions. Another new feature of the revamped app will reportedly let users filter local search results to venues that are recommended by top reviews or people in their Google Plus circles. No solid date on when we'll see this update, but Google I/O is right around the corner, so that would be my guess.
Nokia is not afraid of head-to-head competition. The company just released a video dubbed The Hurricane using the Nokia Lumia 928 and compares its video quality directly against the iPhone 5 and the Samsung Galaxy S3. The video footage was shot on a roller coaster at night. The Lumia's 8.7 megapixel PureView camera looked to produce generally smoother video and handled low-light situations a little bit better than the other guys.
T-Mobile USA reported its quarterly earnings for the first time since becoming an Un-carrier and officially selling 500,000 phones last quarter, iPhones particularly, that is. The not wanting to be called a carrier added 3,000 customers with a big shift towards prepaid. The loss of postpaid subscribers was the lowest, though, since Q2 2008. With 1 month left in this last quarter, T-Mobile introduced new plans that have no early termination fees. So next quarter will be our first test of that across an entire 3 months.
A Chrome extension called Downloadify that lets Spotify users permanently download any song currently available from the streaming music service has been blocked. It took advantage of non-existent encryption in Spotify's web player, which is pretty new. It only launched in beta back in November. By installing the extension, which was free in the Chrome Web Store, and starting to play a song, a user could download the track in full DRM-free in MP3 format. Downloadify was quickly removed from the Chrome Web Store, but is still available via a repository at GitHub.
The Wall Street Journal reports that Yahoo is trying to get out of its search partnership with Microsoft. The Journal says CEO Marissa Mayer has wanted to end the relationship since taking over Yahoo. The Journal might want to check its sources because, according to an official filing with the SEC, Yahoo and Microsoft have extended their search ad deal for 12 months, dating back to April 1st of this year. The deal guarantees revenue for each search a Yahoo user makes using Microsoft's Bing search engine.
Adobe angered a few people yesterday when they announced they would no longer offer non-subscription versions of their Creative Suite in a blog post Tuesday. Microsoft Office spokesman Clint Patterson said Microsoft is committed to offering non-subscription versions of Office for at least a decade. Microsoft also announced Office web apps will now work on Android.
Sony is taking Brazil very seriously these days. In an event today, the company announced that for the first time, it will be building PlayStation 3s locally in Manaus, Brazil, and will pump $300 million into the local economy and drive significant price reductions in that region. Brazilian gamers can expect more game release support. News that the game The Last of Us will have a localized version available. Grand Theft Auto 5 will be the first game in the series to include Brazilian Portuguese localization. Brazilians can also buy a 250 gigabyte PS3 bundled with God of War Ascension for about just over 1,000 real, and is running a contest to win the first Brazilian-built PS3.
The New York Times reports the FBI will make another run at legislation requiring internet companies to build in surveillance capabilities into communication products like VoIP, chat, and instant messaging. Rather than require all companies to build in surveillance, though, the new proposal would just level fines up to $25,000 on companies who do not cooperate with court orders for taps.
Google's added a couple of features to Hangouts on Air. When you're live streaming, viewers will be able to rewind during live broadcasts. And once you're off the air, the Hangout will also be available immediately on YouTube. Google also added higher quality video for mobile Hangouts. These features launched today, but be warned, Google says that as a part of these enhancements, it may take longer to set up your Hangout on Air, but it's, quote, nothing to worry about.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Ring Central. When we built the Twit studio, we wanted to do as much through the cloud as possible. All about the internet, decentralization. We don't want to run a bunch of old hardware. We didn't want to PBX system in the basement somewhere. So when Russell, our IT guy, said we should do a cloud-based phone system, it was a no-brainer. We love Ring Central. Zero startup costs, no PBX hardware to install or maintain, and Ring Central allows you to easily customize your call handling. You can get your voicemail in your email. Easier to check your voicemails on that desk phone, but you still get the benefits of a desk phone. And we can even get fax messages right on our smartphones. Now they have a new feature, Ring Central Conferencing. Get your own single conference bridge number ready for unlimited conference calls for up to 1,000 participants. If you got more than 1,000 people in your conference call, that's like an earnings call. You need something else. Lots of features. You can mute participants, get caller count, record conferences, and more. It's easy to use. Works with your desk phone, but it also works with your iPhone. It works with your Android phone or your Ring Central soft phone, and it's free with your monthly service. Ring Central offers all-inclusive pricing as low as $20 a month per user, and you can start right now with a 30-day risk-free trial, and they have a special offer for our listeners. When you buy one desk phone, get a second phone free up to 20 phones. So call this number designated for our listeners, 800-543-9980. That's 800-543-9980. Again, 800-543-9980. Or go to ringcentral.com and use promo code TWIT. You're going to love it. Try it out, ringcentral.com, promo code TWIT. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Joining us now to discuss the stories of the day, Justin Robert Young of the NSFW show right here on Twit, also the Weird Things podcast, and Man About Town. In fact, you're the man about Cleveland right now.
I am. That is the town I am currently about.
It's good to have you along, Justin, and thanks to Len Peralta for providing you a place to sit, some internet. Joining us also, internet cartoonist, my co-conspirator on the 10-state comic, Len. How's it going?
Everything is going well, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Now, we brought Justin on for his giant brain, and we're going to take advantage of your art talent as well. You're going to draw the stories for us?
I'm going to try to do the best I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share a screen with you and be able to draw live on air.
That is awesome. We did this when we had Len on Frame Rate, who has a pretty big brain of his own, but is also a very talented artist. And what you came up with for our 100th episode of Frame Rate, still one of my favorite things we've ever done on that show. So I'm looking forward to what you come up with, man.
It's not the size of the brain, Tom. It's what you
Ask
do.
the dinosaurs. I know. Yeah. Dinosaurs are a myth, Justin.
Well, okay. Let's avoid some controversy here, Tom. We're only at the beginning.
Let's get controversial, actually. Let's talk about Google Glass. Actually, we've got a couple things from Google that they're updating. Glass and Hangouts. What's this about, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter the size of your brain, but it does matter the size of your head if you're going to be wearing Google Glass. What's nice is that anybody who's interested in doing so, Google Glass has gotten an update. The update name is E5. And there's sort of a laundry list. It's a pretty big update for Google Glass wearers, but one of a few of the big things is it's going to display Google Plus notifications. So if you are active on Google Plus, this will probably be great news for you. So things like shares and comments and mentions, it'll allow you as a Google Glass wearer to comment and +1 content from people in your circles. It can also notify you about incoming Hangouts, so you get notifications about that. Faster message transcription, international dialing and SMS capability, more reliable battery estimates. Well, let's go back to the Google Hangouts part of it, because Google Plus itself has, whether you're accessing anything via Google Glass or not, has made some significant updates to the on-air feature of Google Hangouts. So that's not just a private Hangout group. It's something that you're basically broadcasting to anybody who wants to watch in. Will now incorporate user recommendations. They will also add a rewind option to live broadcast. So it's kind of like a little Google Hangout DVR capability. Also, when you visit a page that has a Hangout on the air, like an event or a YouTube channel, the video will begin playing as soon as the show starts. You don't have to refresh the page. And Google has added the option to access recordings immediately after the broadcast. So as a broadcaster, your work is, sort of half done for you. Once the video ends, a copy will then be uploaded to YouTube. So that's something that basically you can offer people on demand if anybody misses the live broadcast. And then finally, if you're a mobile user, so Google Glass wearer or accessing Hangouts via some sort of mobile device, Google says that those Hangouts will get better quality video. So again, company recognizing that a lot of people are accessing these via mobile and, wants the quality to look as good as possible. Justin, are you excited to be following live Hangouts while you're wearing your Google Glass, walking down the street and +1ing your content?
Okay, Glass. +1 this thing that I'm watching. I have no idea what to think about some of the updates to Google Glass, because I really have no idea what to think about Google Glass right now. I mean, you're just now seeing some of the critical reaction to it as people sort of get their hands on it. And although I'm very, very, very eager to see what, it is going to be for, my own reaction, like I just have this feeling that with Google's hardware, what we saw with Android, what we saw with their first phones, is their first edition, unlike, let's say, a company like Apple, is usually the ugliest. Like, their process is by refining, not necessarily in debuting what they think is close to the perfection of the moment. So I really don't know what to make of the Google Glass. But as far as the Hangouts, I'm excited for them to be focusing more on this, because it is very relevant to me as somebody who does a lot of live streaming. Although I would be way more interested in, let's say, them putting out a functioning chat room as opposed to trying to retrofit YouTube comments into the way that people interact with people talking live. Tom, didn't they already do the instant YouTube video thing? I kind of seem like that's already a thing that happens, right?
They have a thing where your Hangout will turn into a video immediately afterwards, but it has to wait for encoding currently. So what they're doing here, and this is why it's going to take a couple seconds once you press the go live button for it to actually go live, is they're encoding on the fly, which is an impressive feat for one stream. I remember when we did that at CNET TV, it was a huge deal to be able to encode CNET Live on the fly and then be able to put it up right away. Imagine them doing that for everybody who wants to do a Hangout live at any point in the day. That's an immense amount of processing that's going on there. So
was it needed?
What the difference will be is, instead of sitting there saying, "Oh, my video is being encoded, I'll have to wait for a little bit," depending on how long it was. Now, as soon as you're done, it'll be there.
I mean, I don't know. Was there an outcry for that? Like, this moments of encoding are driving me up a wall. There's got to be a better way.
It's probably less about outcry and more about Google just trying to streamline the process. And if you're going to have some sort of a live Hangout that you'd like to broadcast out, it's easier than ever, not only for people to be able to follow along live, but to have it immediately afterwards. I don't know. I think these updates they're awesome. I'm with you, Justin. The Google Glass part of it, I'm sort of like meh about it. Maybe that's just because I don't have a pair yet, so I feel like I don't know what I'm missing. But I think that the on-air Hangout functionality is really, it's bringing it into just a very viable broadcast option, with good quality for people who are accessing these Hangouts via mobile, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, just one final thing. I think for all of us that are on this show right now who do live streaming is a part of their living, the idea that Google is making it easier for us who might not already now have a YouTube presence to have a very easy, seamless YouTube presence where you can interview people, you can have conversations, and immediately sort of be on that big, gigantic, bustling platform is really awesome. I tried Hangouts on air because I really do believe that, I hope that it is the future.
And Len is artistically representing the reaction to most of the times that I request to hang out with people, which is folks about to puke and stick their tongue out. Let's move on to Yahoo's Marissa Mayer, who got shut out of Dailymotion, but she's still shopping for a video partner.
Yeah, she's not giving up. All Things D is reporting that Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer recently met with the top executives at Hulu. Now, there's no formal bid yet, but sources say Yahoo is in the process. Meyer also had an extensive getting-to-know-you meeting held outside of Hulu's offices. And All Things D also mentions the idea that Yahoo doesn't have to fully purchase Hulu. It could just partner up in and invest in the company. Although Hulu's changed a bit in the past couple of months, according to ComScore, is no longer a top 10 video site. Justin, do you think Yahoo needs a piece of Hulu no matter what, or is this just something they're chasing for no reason?
Well, right now, it's hard to look at the ingredients that Yahoo is buying up and get a specific sense. I mean, you guys, it seems like it's every other day on this show that you guys are talking about some kind of acquisition that Yahoo is making. And now we are just trying to see, by feeling around the different parts of the elephant, try to get an idea of what their master plan is. It seems that video is certainly one of it. They're aggressively going after video content, but is it for the eyeballs of people who watch video content? Is it so they can have a platform that they can maybe get into the original market, which is certainly all the rage right now and was originally kind of what they want, what the idea with Yahoo was going to be when they were courting Hulu's CEO, whose last name I consistently mispronounce, their former CEO. We don't know, but it is an interesting idea, although what Hulu is now and was before is vastly different if a lot of the original partners for Hulu pull out and now don't allow or give sweetheart deals to some of their content the way that they have in the past, speaking specifically of ABC, News Corp, and NBC, Comcast now.
Sarah, Yahoo's got its own original content. It's got deals with SNL. It's got all kinds of things going for it when it comes to video. Try Dailymotion. Does it just seem like Yahoo wants to get into video no matter what? I don't know if this Hulu brand is going to be that big a deal to them if they don't have that content partnership deals.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the Saturday Night Live deal, which I think is not, I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal, actually. It's kind of lackluster in my opinion. And we've talked about that in the past. I think Hulu as a brand right now is very attractive for Yahoo. I would say that's a better brand to get a stake of than Dailymotion, just as far as trajectory and user base and possibilities. But yeah, I mean, if Yahoo basically, let's say they have a majority stake in Hulu, right? And all of a sudden Hulu's partnerships drop out of the floor and Yahoo has to build those back from scratch. That's certainly possible, but that makes, Hulu a much less attractive brand for Yahoo to gain control of. I would kind of like to see these two partner up, though. I think it's actually a really attractive proposition for both.
As Len
Plus
is writing,
Yahoo.
Yeah,
right?
Yahoo. Is that enough of a reason to pick it up, Tom, for that combination name?
Yeah, don't forget that Amazon is still in this process. Don't forget that you still got Peter Chernin, former News Corp guy, in this. And I believe Guggenheim Partners is still in this. So this is early days. It makes perfect sense for Yahoo to investigate this, to see if this is the kind of deal that would make sense. And that's what Marissa Mayer's doing. She's traveling to Santa Monica, having some meetings, saying, okay, what do you guys got here? Let's, should we open the book? Should we take a look at this? Should we kick the tires? Doesn't mean she's going to drive off the lot with Hulu, but it definitely makes sense for them to investigate. If nothing else, they learn some things about the way Hulu does business that they wouldn't have known before. And there's some limits on what they can do with that information. But I do see that down the road, given all the caveats that you guys have said, a partnership or an acquisition could totally make sense for them.
Yeah, it's funny because Hulu was created to fight off YouTube. Now, if Yahoo picks it up, it actually will be going up head-to-head because we got Marissa Mayer's Yahoo versus Google that's been sitting around for a while. I'm just kind of curious if this is going to spur other interest in Hulu as well, because Hulu's been shopped around for a while. Nobody's picked it up. The partnerships that are owning this content company, not exactly thrilled with its performance. Seems like all the partners want to do different things when it comes to how Hulu runs. So I'd be curious to see what Yahoo would do with it, or what their influence would be if they would go for more of that News Corp style of, let's do all premium, or would they say, look, let's try to loosen up the restrictions, get as much content out there as possible.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that this would make this more attractive to other potential suitors for Hulu, because, mind you, this is an All Things D story that leads off with, according to numerous sources close to the situation. Which side of this negotiation do you think are the sources coming from? I don't necessarily think that there's a lot for Yahoo to benefit by leaking these early negotiations. Hulu, on the other hand, has a lot to gain by seeming like a property that is close to getting bought.
All right, the FBI is coming for your information, ladies and gentlemen. They want more power to wiretap. This has been a constant campaign for them for a couple of years now. They call it going dark, that if they don't get the same powers to wiretap internet communications as they have for regular telecommunications, that they won't be able to tell what the bad guys are up to. And anybody who's watched The Wire can see the sort of argument that could be made for needing to have those kinds of powers to catch the bad guys. People freaked out last year about the idea that companies would, no matter how large or small they would have to build in a back door. It's insecure, it's a burden on innovation, et cetera. So the new proposal, according to the New York Times, would be to levy fines against companies that don't comply when they're given a 30-day notice and a period to consult on the technology. It'd be a $25,000 fine. That way, if you're a small business getting started, you're not likely to gain the attention of the FBI. You don't have to worry about it, or at least you can consult with them if they do come in and ask for it. It would apply to VoIP. It would no longer require encryption keys to be available, so no backdoor into encryption, just a backdoor into the tap. And the FBI says surveillance would require a court order. Now, don't forget, the ACLU recently found documents that says the FBI doesn't think they need court orders for a lot of things, so it's hard to know whether they'll actually take this seriously or not. There was a Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals 2010 ruling, U.S. versus Warshak, that said warrantless access to email violates the Fourth Amendment. But what about your Dropbox files? What about your Google Drive files? Those weren't covered by that decision. How much cooperation should tech companies be forced to give, Justin?
I mean, obviously, that is a hard decision to make as
I want
the
answer right now.
Well, I'm not going to give you an answer, Tom, and I don't care how much you whinge about it. There's the conversation about, a back door to, this kind of information, something that's gone on pretty much as long as we've had the commercial internet. Back to Al Gore and the Clipper chip. If, from my perspective, I don't know exactly where the line is. I do know that whatever the line is, I want it to be something that is out on Front Street in terms of, and transparent in terms of, company by company. And I think that consumers should look at what their privacy restrictions are for turning over information to the government, and should make their decisions on whether or not they are going to use those services accordingly, even if most people just kind of blow that information off.
Yeah, we talked about this in the news feeds the other day, though. Tim Clementi, former counterterrorism agent, told CNN they record everything already. They've got all your emails. They've got all your files, anything that's going across the internet. And we hear this a lot from security experts, which is if you're not encrypting your stuff, people can get it. Do you think they need these special treatments from tech companies, or could they just, get some elite skills? Get the same amount of information.
I doubt they need this, but I'm sure this is something they want. It's if it makes it easier that the government doesn't have to invest resources in trying to crack everything, as opposed to going, hey guys, just give us the information. That makes it a lot easier for us. So I don't think they need it at all, but it would just be, I think, it'd make a lot more sense monetarily if these companies just complied with them for the government. I'm not saying this is a great idea at all. I think this is
it's definitely a reminder that you should encrypt.
Absolutely.
If you're worried at all about the government spying on you. Now, obviously, the FBI says we only want to do this for people who've committed crimes, and we all want them to be able to catch people who've committed crimes. But Sarah, do you worry that things that you say that the FBI could overstep their boundaries?
I guess. I don't know. I sort of assume that yeah, we're all sort of being monitored, and I like to think that I'm not really, raising any eyebrows with the sorts of stuff that I'm doing. But I understand that's not sort of like, hey, if you have nothing to worry about, then you shouldn't worry about what the FBI is doing. I'm more interested in the whole levying fines against companies that don't comply, right? So if you've got a company that says, listen, FBI, we understand what you want, but we don't have the capability to extract conversations from these encrypted files, right? On our data servers, and then they're being fined $25,000 a day. I mean, and then it kind of turns into a conversation of like, well, is the company being serious? What if they really don't have the capability? Is this just a way for the government to get a bunch of money from companies, or an excuse to do that half the time? I don't know.
And where does this money go? Is it for the winner of the three-legged race at the FBI company picnic every year? I don't know. I guess,
hope so.
So would I. Here is my question to Ayaz. From a legal perspective, doesn't this seem more along the lines of not necessarily being able to catch the bad guys, but to be able to be on solid legal footing to prosecute the bad guys with the evidence that they find in a
And that's what makes Clementi's stuff make sense. Clementi's saying they already gathered this stuff, but it's inadmissible in court, and what they want is admissibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I've got to go back to evidence class for that. Sorry.
Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create an awesome website. Platform upgrade happened last autumn. If you weren't paying attention, Squarespace just keeps rolling out new products, new features, new integrations, new templates. They are not stopping. Make sure you get the most recent innovations. Squarespace has a 24/7 support team providing live chat during the week, extremely fast email support throughout the day and night, plus plans starting as low as $8 a month for software and hosting. Squarespace is a real value. If you need reliability, if you need to look like an award-winning design was created for you, this is the place to go. They regularly add new smart features, new templates. They just added a new calendar feature, allows you to share schedule updates. Great for having sales events, or if you've got a comedy album coming out, perhaps, that might hit the top of the Billboard charts, and you want to let people know about the release schedule. They just released a beautiful new template called Momentum, which has cinematic full bleed image display, perfect for photographers and designers. And of course, Squarespace connects all your social media accounts. Publish to and from social media with just a few clicks, refreshing your site content from the places you like to post. So you're like, I'm an Instagram photo person. Your Instagram photos get piped right in. Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Squarespace integrates all your website needs into one platform: domains, design, development, commerce, hosting, and 24/7 customer support. But you don't have to take my word for it. For a free trial, go to squarespace.com, sign up for a free account. No credit card needed. Just try it out. Start building your website. Then, if you decide to purchase it, use offer code TNT5. That's right. It gets better. You get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, whether it's a monthly account or an annual plan. But don't forget about free domain registrations for annual plan customer subscriptions. That's squarespace.com. Use that offer code TNT5. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. We love Squarespace, and we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. All right, we got another gun story, Sarah. This one involving EA and the depiction of guns in games.
Yeah, EA has told Reuters that it's not going to pay gun manufacturers for the right to use branded weapons in video games anymore, but that it retains the right to depict guns without a license. If you're wondering, like, what does this mean? I mean, sometimes you see a certain kind of brand name gun in a video game, and the gun manufacturers, for example, the gun manufacturer Barrett says, if you see one of our guns, you know, an assault rifle in Black Ops 2, for example, we want to be paid a royalty fee. It's either a one-time payment or a percentage of sales, but it's a royalty fee nonetheless. EA says, well, hold on a second. We have the legal right to depict branded weapons in products, and it's not really any different than somebody talking about a certain kind of gun in a novel or some other narrative-based media. Frank Gibbeau, who's the EA president of Labels, told Reuters, we're telling a story and we have a point of view. A book doesn't pay for saying the word Colt, for example. So EA is saying, yeah, well, you know, we don't want to do that either. They haven't actually been sued yet by gun makers for using branded weapons without a license, although they did get into some trouble with Bell Helicopter, which challenged an unlicensed depiction of one of the helicopters in the game Battlefield. EA and Bell Helicopter are now in a trial is scheduled to begin in June to try to figure this out. EA preemptively sued the aircraft manufacturer. Justin, what do you think? I mean, are video games along the lines of novels where they really shouldn't have to be paying licensing fees for things like a name brand gun?
Well, EA is certainly going to argue that because that means that they don't have to pay the gun manufacturers, and gun manufacturers, especially in the current climate, kind of rank among cigarette manufacturers and, you know, convicted criminals in terms of public sympathy, at least with a certain element of our society. So they, you know, it's not like they're going to catch a lot of public heat. In fact, they will probably get public praise for saying that they are not going to pay these manufacturers anymore. Whether or not they have the legal right, it seems a bit murky, but there's not going to really be a whole lot of blowback for them. And it seems like a pretty ripe social climate for them to stop this stream of money, which is really what the issue is. It's not whether or not they have the right to do it. It's that they were doing it and now they are stopping, and nothing gets people angry like a stifled revenue stream.
As last year, EA had included some links to certain gun sellers on the website for Medal of Honor Warfighter. Some people were really upset about it. EA said the promotion was part of an effort to raise money for military veterans, but the outcry was just too much. They ended up taking down the links. What do you think about, you know, so yeah, Justin's right that, you know, some of this is PR and money-based, but are video games enough of the same kind of narrative along the lines of a fictional novel that they have the right to basically talk about whatever kind of gun they want?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly if this is the same thing as a novel or not, because theoretically, are you advertising your product based on its realism, and does that matter that you're using this particular kind of gun in the video game? When you're talking about war games or games based on wars, and these are historically accurate, maybe that could be some kind of selling point, so EA is making some money off of it. If anything, I just don't understand why EA doesn't just slightly change the guns. They're digital guns. Just change something about them to make them not the same, and they don't have to even worry about licensing or saying that they have to do a legal argument. Just change it slightly, and yes, it might not be historically accurate, but they can get around this whole problem anyway.
See, you're talking sense, IS, and this is an emotional issue.
Sorry.
Because I think what's going on here is the NRA started blaming video games for gun violence, and then EA was among the people saying, what are you doing? You're just changing the question. Now, EA specifically said this new policy has nothing to do with that, but I think it probably does, even if they don't realize that it has something to do with it, is that, you know, they're looking at a trade industry and saying, like, okay, if you guys are going to start pointing the finger at us, then why should we cooperate with you? We'll see you in court if you want to make an issue out of it. Let's talk about Google trying to find a way to make Chrome your default browser in iOS.
Sort of.
How close are they getting?
Pretty close. Google just put up a blog post at the Chromium blog, and it's saying it's reminding developers that they can use Chrome as a default browser for their apps. So in the blog post, Google writes that developers can have users open a web page in Chrome, then return to their app with one tap using Chrome's Open in Chrome controller class with X callback. Now, Google says developers have two options when it comes to displaying web content on iOS. They could either build their own WebKit-based browser in their app, or they could use Chrome. And Google also recently updated Gmail for iOS, and it links directly to the app versions of Google Maps, YouTube, and Chrome, it used to open links in the browser, and you can turn these options off if you want. Justin, what do you think is more likely to happen? Is Apple going to break this kind of thing, or is Apple going to open up iOS to allow such a thing?
I don't know. I mean, this is obviously a lot of where the evolution of Apple is going in terms of they want to lock people into the experience of iOS. They want to make it the most attractive possible, whether or not that means that they have to play nice with Chrome, which has in itself made a extraordinarily successful ecosystem. For me, I use 4 different devices: my own MacBook, a work MacBook, a iPad, and an iPhone, and using Chrome throughout all 4 of them has been extraordinarily beneficial for me. So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like we are at a fork in the road for iOS in terms of how they want to deal and continue to deal with third-party stuff. And if Google's willing to play nice and put a lot of the features, this is what they wanted. I mean, Apple did Apple Maps because Google would not give the features that they wanted in Google Maps to the iOS. If Google is willing to kind of give the top features to Apple, maybe that bad blood can recede a little bit and we can start to see them play a little bit nicer again.
Sarah, if Apple didn't open up or allow the options to change the default apps during the whole Apple Maps mess, do you think they would start to change things with iOS 7? Do you think that one day people will be able to change their default apps on iOS?
I certainly hope so. I mean, that's one of the things that bugs me about iOS is that you still get locked into, opening in Safari if you don't want a Google app to do so, and so on. I don't see Apple saying, you know what, we actually don't want Google to have all this power, and we're going to make sure that this isn't possible anymore. Sorry, Google, and sorry, all users of future versions of iOS. Just because they only hurt themselves. There's only so far that Apple can go in saying, we don't actually want Google to be too powerful here within our OS, because the users are the ones that suffer, and then the users are the ones who say, oh, but look, on Android I can do all of these things, and iOS closes it all down. So I think that Apple has to kind of give it up here. I certainly hope other default apps will begin to have the same kinds of power, because I run into this problem all the time. I mean, it's not just Google's suite of apps. It's all sorts of apps that end up opening a link that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So yeah, I hope that this is iOS becoming more open down the road. I don't even know what I'm saying here, but I certainly hope.
Tom, Apple's got a history of being arbitrary. Could you see them going back on this? Because I'm pretty sure that Google's not breaking any rules when it comes to allowing its apps to access its other apps or to have developers reference Chrome. Do you think Apple would shut this down?
Yeah, the interesting thing here is that Google is allowing the Chrome browser, because they make it, to give a link back to the app. Otherwise, they're not doing anything that tons of other apps do. So I don't see Apple punishing Google for this in any way. The more interesting question to me is that question you raised of, would Apple go farther down this road and make it so that you could make Chrome or Opera or some other browser available as your default browser? But remember, all of these browsers still have to use that WebKit underpinning. Even the Chrome browser has to use that to run as a browser. So in the end, it's still the same structure. It's still the same frame. And I don't think Apple wins anything by making you keep Safari. So why not say, okay, yeah, Chrome can be your default. It's still the same framework underneath, and so it doesn't hurt the operating system at all. But then again, as you say, Apple's arbitrary, so they may just say, no, that's too much choice. That'll confuse people. We're not going to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised for that to happen.
Yeah, and lately, Apple hasn't exactly been on the ball when it comes to software releases, even for iOS. The podcast app, a lot of people are like, what on earth is this? And they've refined it to change the way it looks. But its function was one of the bigger problems as well. So maybe it would behoove Apple to say, hey, you know what? We can make the hardware. We do a great job with that. The software, let somebody else do it.
Let's finish up with our discussion section here about BitTorrent's new product. BitTorrent, the company that is always fighting to let people know, hey, BitTorrent isn't illegal. People do illegal things with other things all the time. Why sully BitTorrent's name? BitTorrent is introducing something called bundles. This is an ability for you as an independent creator to essentially use BitTorrent as a flyer. So you give it away for free as a torrent, and it just goes out there onto the internet. And then you can pack in a URL or some information or give people the ability to sign up for your newsletter. Their example today, Ultra Music is giving away a track by the dance DJ Cascade, bundled in with a trailer for its upcoming DVD release and a little URL page that when you open it will take you to their store where you can pre-order the DVD. They also have this thing, and I'm not sure how this fits in with bundles, but when you download the bundle, it gives you an immediate opportunity to give an email address and sign up for the newsletter from Ultra Music. And then you can unlock another bundle, which has a 10-minute concert video and a booklet if you're a big fan of Kincaid. Epic Mealtime had a bundle up there on the page today, and I tried that out. I got a couple of MP3s. I got a couple of videos. They were cool. I didn't see anything else in there that was pushing me to action, but they did promote their YouTube channel in all of this stuff. So maybe that's what the idea is again, like a flyer saying, hey, we have this thing. If you want more of us, go here to do it. Justin, what do you think of this idea of BitTorrent saying, hey, we can be the entree to you making money by giving things away?
Nice. Not thrilling, but nice. I mean, BitTorrent obviously has a bit of a brand problem, as you alluded to. People associate BitTorrent with theft of copyrighted content. Is it as a technology something that can be used to make money? Yes, and they are benefited by making steps to content creators to say, hey, look, this is a way for which you can connect with an already waiting audience, and maybe people will pay. However, you've seen, most notably with Google, that a lot of times when you build a relationship with consumers, a brand does, with the idea being that this is the place where I go for free things, it is oftentimes easier said than done to convert them to paying customers. So it's good that they are doing it. I don't know if anybody should start holding their breath that this is how they're going to start paying their rent.
And it's interesting, BitTorrent says in their posting, not that, oh, we're going after the big names and the big companies, because that's who they have the big branding problem with, frankly, is the media and the industry. They're saying, hey, this is like the independent record store. We're the cool place to go find indie stuff now that's sort of disappeared from the scene. Ayaz, do you give that any credence?
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It just seems like it's like the re-debut of CD-ROMs. Like, oh, look, I have this kind of app and I can go do these other things. Am I reading this wrong? That it's effectively it seems like a CD-ROM or an app that instead of just a media file. Is that right, Tom?
No, it's just a media file. You got two MP4s, an MP3, and a .url file. And the .url file takes you basically a link.
So they're
what providing is the marketplace for this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. It just sounds like they're selling or they're pitching zip files. Like, great. I guess I'm not getting the amazingness of this. It's a
curated space.
Oh.
That's what's interesting.
I think it'll be just as popular as those iTunes Plus albums, whatever they were called, where you can get the extra features that nobody ever used, that Steve Jobs really loved. He talked about it all the time. Here are these special features. It's like an album in iTunes. It's like, well, that's great, but nobody really cares.
I like them.
Well, sorry.
Sarah, do you like this stuff? Do you agree with Ayaz?
Well, I'm not familiar with the dance DJ Cascade, so maybe if it was an artist I was really, really into, I'd go, oh, that's really cool. This is the only place that I can get. I can look at a trailer for this new DVD release from one of my favorite artists. But again, I think that those examples are all about, well, does the artist have a really big following, and is this the only place that following can enjoy extra content? Sure, BitTorrent will see some sort of success with bundles, but I don't think it's a slam dunk just to help indie artists get a bunch of attention, because this is, it's a little bit different than iTunes, right? You mentioned iTunes.
iTunes LP is what the chat.
Yeah, pull up bundles.bittorrent.com if you would, please. That's one of the links that's there, and that is the store interface.
Okay. Here we go.
There you go. So you see Cascade up there in the upper left. There's Pretty Lights and Node, Alex Day, 4 Hour Chef, Epic Mealtime. This is the pitch, right? You could always bundle whatever you want into a torrent, but BitTorrent is saying, like, we'll organize this for you. We'll be the curation.
But I guess that's the thing, though, is this another way that indie artists can reach out to their audience? Sure. Is it the most likely place? Is it where they are going to see the most reaction to it? Probably not. And when it comes to the big heavy hitters of, to put exclusive content from big media companies, the last thing they're going to want to do is say, hey, let's legitimize that thing called BitTorrent.
Well, and I do think that there's something to the flyer aspect of this, though, to say, like, let's put this thing out there, and as it gets shared, even away from the bundle store, people will start to see that we've got an added message in there. But Ayaz is right. You could have done that on your own. You don't need BitTorrent.com to help you do that. It's the storefront that they provide.
Didn't Views do something similar? They used to have like a little store where you could take a look at all the content you could get.
BitTorrent actually had a more traditional store, and Views was part of that. They were a front end to that as well, and neither one of those caught on, unfortunately. Len Peralta doing a great job illustrating these stories. He's the man behind the scenes, being quiet back there, but the chat room too is really enjoying the stuff you're doing, Len.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's hopefully I'm doing the stories justice.
Well, even the Justice story you did justice. That's how good you are. Let's move on to the randomizer. The It Crowd is returning for one last episode. Huzzah! Or some people like to call it the IT Crowd, and Graham Lynham, the creator, has said you can call it either one. We originally called it It Crowd. You want to call it IT Crowd? I'm not going to stop you. But yeah, the original cast, Moss, Roy, Jan, Douglas, all returning for a 40-minute special episode. Ayaz, I know you're excited about this.
I'm freaking thrilled about this. One of the things I love about the It Crowd is the fact that, yes, I know people hate this, but when things end and they were still spectacular, the whole run, I love that. But if there's going to be one more episode with the creators of the show and the actual cast and not some kind of stunt, I'm a big fan of that. So I can't wait to watch this episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Now, they just started filming it, so no release date or anything like that. But we'll keep an eye on it. Oh, look, you've got Moss going on, Len. That's awesome. Can tell who it is already. Whoa. Yeah, okay. We're gonna move off this story quicker than you can draw, unfortunately. But you don't have to draw the calendar. We'll keep drawing that while Sarah does the calendar.
Microsoft Windows 8.1 Blue public preview will be released at the Build conference that Microsoft holds annually. This year it's scheduled from June 26th through June 28th.
Nice.
Man,
so
there's got to be a better name for that. It's like Michael in Arrested Development. You know, got to be a better name than Microsoft Blue.
Microsoft George Michael. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We got a message from Tom, the power systems engineer. I'm writing in about your discussion of the power generating tiles for San Francisco's Temple nightclub in episode 747. Although these smaller local renewable systems might seem useful in our gradual transition to renewable energy, the growing number of these fit and forget resources is actually a huge nuisance for the rest of the energy sector. On the supply side, these systems don't participate on energy exchanges and therefore don't provide generation schedules. Large central generation systems with reserve power will hence need to correct the resulting increase in supply and demand imbalances. This makes the overall electricity supply less efficient and creates undesired effects in other grid areas. Meanwhile, local distribution companies are confronted with line overloading at certain times due to limited capacity and unwanted tripping of short-circuit protectors due to reversing power flows. New approaches such as virtual power plants are currently being developed that can manage a portfolio of distributed energy resources for owners that are unable themselves, while providing proper system integration and revenue maximization. Only with these kinds of serious innovations is replacing substantial amounts traditional generation with local renewables actually possible. And as Tom always says, we have the smartest audience in the business.
Yes. Thank you, Tom, the power systems engineer, for writing in. That's great. And I love the fact that he explains the problem and explains the solutions that are in place and where we are with it. That very good insights, man. Thank you for writing in. Appreciate that.
Just listening to that, Tom, like my neck beard just grew out like a werewolf. I am so much smarter for having listened to that. That's an awesome email.
You could harness that neck beard as a virtual power plant. Talk to Tom. I'll tell you how to properly integrate that. And that is it for this show. Justin Robert Young, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you. What's going on that you've got to tell the people about?
Well, I'll tell you what, of course, NSFW every Tuesday night. New episode's going to be up today that we recorded yesterday with one Tomas Marit, Tom Merritt. So go ahead and check that out. Justin R. Young on Twitter, of course. The #1 comedy album on Billboard, Night Attack 2, Enjoy the Garden, for the second week in a row. You can go ahead and pick that up on iTunes and Amazon, and my own podcast, jurytalks.com. You can find right there.
I did enjoy the garden, by the way. Good
I
stuff.
hope so.
Yeah. And Len Peralta, can you flip through the different illustrations again that you were doing?
Let me. That is right now. That's something I did this morning for Charles Ramsey, the Good Neighbor Charles Ramsey Good Neighbor Award. Did giveaway.
Well done, Charles Ramsey.
Let me see. Hang on a second. Give me a second. I'm looking for.
I did capture a couple of them. If I can sit.
There we go. That's the IT crowd. That's the BitTorrent one. This one's a bigger one here. This is. Yeah, that's the Google Chrome story. We got the gun one here. The wiretap. We're talking about
the face puncher. I didn't notice you called it that.
Buttercup, Yahoo, which I think is a pretty cool little branded name. If that's gonna make it. Let's see.
They should contract you for their logo design if they buy Hulu.
Yeah, they should actually. And that's the Google Glass story. So I tried to do them as quickly as possible, and I listened to you guys. So I'm already.
Great, Len.
Thank you so much.
That was really awesome. Are you going to make those available somehow for folks?
I could. It'd be fun if do like a little poster or something like that with all of them on there, and then put them on my online store. I can probably do that a little bit later today. So, yeah, definitely. If anybody is interested, I can do that. They can go to lenperalta.com and go to my online store, which is tartsy.shopify.com, and just search me. You'll find all the art I've been doing.
It's LenPeralta, Len Peralta.
Correct.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate having you on the show today. Don't forget, folks, we have a subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, where you can participate in the story selection each and every day. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. Anytime, day or night. If you're in the middle of the night and you're hungry for some tech news, go check it out. You can also give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW, and email us, tnt@twit.tv. We'll be back tomorrow with Adam Christensen from Mattcast. See you then.